Good evening, everyone. I'm Seth Jones here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio, and I'm so glad that you're joining us this evening for episode 28 of VAAS Live. I hope that you've got your creative tools in front of you, whether it's your artist pencils, your graphite, your paints, your brushes, your weaving, your knitting, whatever it is. I hope you're joining us this evening and getting creative. We've got with me here, we've got our humble wizard himself, Chad Nuss. We're getting his camera set up here. He's going to be going live with us just here in 1 second. And then joining us from Costa Rica is going to be our co-founder, Thomas Tupper is going to be joining us here shortly as well. There's Chad. Chad, good evening, sir.
How are you? I'm good. Can you hear me?
You sound great as always.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, Chad, I am super, super excited because you just got finished teaching an inking class, and you're going to be inking today. So your creative juices must be flowing. Like you go right in from teaching pen and ink and ink work and skill sets to applying it now. And you've been taking us on this amazing journey through the Silence Book 3. For those of you guys that don't know, Chad is a multi-creator. He's such a talented individual, a master draftsman, but he's created multiple graphic novels called The Silence. And he's currently working on book 3 of The Silence. And what he's been doing is drawing these pages as we go. So you're seeing his graphic novel, Silence Book 3, come to life right before your eyes. So I hope you enjoy this. And as he's been working on inking this page. So Chad, I don't mean to throw you in the deep end so soon, so quickly right out of the gate, but is it not exhilarating to go from teaching and instructing a medium and then diving right into it?
Yeah, I mean, it's also a little bit tiring because I just got done doing a bunch of inking. But yes, I mean, I love teaching, and I love especially students that are new to the medium, just giving them, kind of an overview, a first taste of what you can do with ink. And then to get back to my own projects is I love that. So yeah, it's the best of both worlds. It's the teaching is amazing, and then work on your own projects, it's yeah, awesome too. So yeah, great day today for sure.
And for those of you guys that don't know what I'm currently working on, I am working on my second portrait here. This is of my oldest daughter, Everly, and this is in oil. And I am working in an old Flemish grisaille process that's painting the underpainting in gray tones first, and then applying washes or oil glazes on top. And I've completed my first one, which was of core. If you go back and watch some of our previous episodes, you'll actually see that entire painting come to life pretty much from beginning to end, Chad, I think in about 25 episodes or so. And I'm hoping today, I'm reworking some of her hair here. Her hairline wasn't exactly the way that I wanted. So if you're looking, you can see that I've got a line here. I've gone back in and re-indicated where I wanted that hairline to go. So I'm going to be working on that. But my hope today is to complete the first couple of glazes. And I'm going to work on the blankets down here. I'll get reshifted, readjusted. I'm excited to have Thomas join us. Chad, he's working on getting his camera set up as we speak. I don't know what he's going to be working on. So that's going to be a surprise for me and you as well as our viewers. And it's going to be a wonderful day of creativity. So let us know you're here. Thanks for giving us a like, follow, a share, or comment. Get engaged with us. We like it when you guys ask us questions and we can give you that long answer. We joke often that maybe we should call this the long answer is, because once Chad and I get going and you guys ask us questions, we start talking art history, everything else. It's pretty amazing. So we're super excited that you guys are joining us on all of the different platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Instagram. We're so glad you guys are here. Or even if you're watching later on, if you're not joining us live, that's okay. We're glad you're following us and watching these episodes later on at your own leisure and at your own time. Project Peacekeeper, so glad to see you joining us on Instagram over there. We hope you're wonderful. We love what you do. We love what you guys are all about. We're so grateful that you guys are here. So ask us questions, give us a like, follow, a share. We're going to get creating those. So get your pencils, your paints, everything else ready to go. We want you guys creating along with us. Ask us questions. Let us know what you think. And Chad, it's time to get to work, brother.
Yes, sir. So I'm hoping to really get a large portion of this tunnel done. So you see the spaceship, I've pretty much got that where I want it to be. And now I'm just doing the background. And the main part of this background is this tunnel that it's pointing up towards, where it'll be launched out into the sky. So I'm starting in the upper right-hand corner, which is kind of the entrance to this tunnel, or the exit, I guess you could say. It's an underground tunnel. It's being shot up through the ground up into the sky. And so I'm going to start with that. That's the lightest area. So not as much black, more just lines and a couple variation of thickness of line and that kind of thing. And then as it goes down into the picture, more heavy blacks to where we get down to the bottom corners, and there'll be a lot of heavy black areas just to really show kind of this light. The light source is coming in from this top right hand corner. So that's my goal today. We'll see how far I get, but I'm looking forward to getting to work. And Patricia has already put on a little comment just saying hello. So it's always good to hear from her. And
Patricia,
yeah, she's one of my favorite students to give a hard time to, be nice and sarcastic. She's also one of the oldest students I have. So
that's a low blow. That's a low blow.
Oh, no. She's always doing stuff like saying stuff like that. So that's right back at you, Patricia.
I was getting ready to say, I think, she gives out some pretty good zingers too. I tell you what, she's quite witty herself.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see the banter. But Chad, that kind of leads me into this statement of, boy, you know what I've really felt this week is the sense of community, the sense of artistic community this week. If you didn't know, we have had our first full week of camps here, and I just love seeing all the young creators get excited, get going. It's just amazing. The community that we try to build is fantastic. We're so grateful for it. Thank you to all the families that participated this week. Electric Mags, thanks for jumping in. We're so grateful that you're here. Patricia, it's so great to see you. Oh, here she goes, Chad. Look, she's already throwing. Oh, you are going to pay for that, sugar. I believe it. I believe it. It's amazing. The banter. Patricia, great to see you as always. Thomas is joining in, getting his cameras ready. And I got to be honest with you guys. Thomas and I speak pretty regularly, but and I'm kind of prefacing this. He doesn't know I'm going to say this at all, but I got to chat with him yesterday, and he was so excited. I haven't heard him this excited about art and creativity in quite some time, actually. And it was exhilarating, and I want to dive into that. I want to see if he's going to be willing to talk about what got him so motivated, what got him so excited and engaged. And I'm hoping he's going to share some of that with us today, because it was absolutely wonderful to see it. And I think it's absolutely amazing when you see creativity just bursting out of the seams. You see that excitement and that engagement coming. It's absolutely wonderful and excited. So hopefully we'll get Tom jumping getting on here in a second. I think we're having some issues with some cameras, so I'm going to send him a message on how to add that there. Give him a second here, guys. Dun, dun, dun. And we'll get this going. And Chad, just so you know, we were getting some beautiful close-ups of that nice long beard you got. That camera is getting us some of those beautiful strands. It's looking lovely.
Thank you.
I apologize. Absolutely.
Am I getting it like in front of this? Oh yeah, that's hilarious. Sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I didn't realize I was doing that. Yeah,
that's all right. No worries. It's actually the artist in me is like, oh, that's really nice. You can see all the individual strands. You can see all that.
It's like a first-person point of view.
That's right. Absolutely. Oh, Patricia says she thought it was spider webs. Well, as old as Chad is, it might be some spider webs hanging off of that beard there.
Hey, careful.
I'm just kidding, buddy. We do have a question here from Deep Pixel Art. Great to see you. So glad you're always back. You always add some great questions to the mix here. He says, hi, how important do you think real conversations are in the creative process today? I think it's so interesting. Deep Pixel Art always talks about the difference in between creative organic creative ideas, right? Original ideas, as well as AI generated or other conversations. And so I'm so grateful that they had all these questions. It's one of those ones that kind of ignites, and we could probably discuss this for quite some time, but it's really interesting because how our, real conversations are in the creative process today. I mean, I think all conversations are real, right? I don't think that you can really have non-organic conversations. You could put in, what do they call them? I forget what they call them now, and I'm blanking on it. It's where you submit concepts to AI generation tools to create conversations for you, but there's no soul, there's no depth. I think those real conversations are what this is all about. Hence why we have the VAAS Live, if that makes sense, Chad. I think you'd agree with me. It's the whole point of this conversation is to have real conversations about art and creativity and everything else. And I think that's the goal, is to be creative together and to have real conversations. And so that's what we hope to have here, guys. I am going to get back to mixing up some of my paints, Chad, because I am going to try to get this hairline done so I can work on a glaze. We've got Thomas jumping in here in just a second, and hopefully get that second camera going. If not, we'll just have him on screen here shortly, and we can talk through a lot of different creative endeavors, guys. What a wonderful evening.
Yeah, unless deep pixel art is not a real person, maybe he's a bot.
That very well could be it too.
No, just kidding. If you're a real person, no offense.
Well, I think it is a conversation that takes place, right? There is a lot of people who want to know, all these different things. But I would agree, bots are a very real thing, as well as just AI generation tools, right? I mean, I think that's what takes place through a lot of different avenues, and it's always something that comes up in this day and age.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, made it. That's technical difficulties, but I'm here.
Lovely, lovely. Thomas, I don't know if you heard or not, but once you get set up, let me know, because I've got a question that I am just so eager to kind of talk and discuss and get going. But I want to make sure you're set up and situated well, because I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm ready.
So yesterday, you and I had a chance to catch up and talk a little bit after I had finished up summer camp. And I have not heard you so exhilarated and so excited about seeing another artist's artwork in a while. Like, you're a connoisseur of art. You love art. You get passionate about it. But man, I just heard it in your voice. You were so engaged, so excited. I don't know if you're willing to talk about and kind of share a little bit, but it was exhilarating for me. I even went home and told Caitlin, my wife, I was like, man, Thomas was just jazzed. It was so cool. It was exciting. What was it? What was it that got you so excited the other day? What was it that you saw or experienced that just really reinvigorated you, bud?
I think when you see like an artist, obviously accomplishing great artworks, but also in a different medium, and understanding, that it translates, even if that's not your medium that you create in, but everything is so the universal aspect of art, as a vehicle, as a medium of communication, for ideas, for feelings, emotion, it's just incredible, to see like a concept be executed and in such, a good way as well, artistically speaking. Yeah, so that was really what it was, it's just, there's amazing pieces that really just translated so well visually. And, there were sculpture, there were like material sculpture, some kinetic, some not, but amazing pieces.
And can you tell us who the artist was, or is that?
Yeah. No, so she's a Costa Rican as well. Her name is Paz Ulloa, Paz. Ulloa is Ulloa, and yeah, she's been working for quite some time. And I mean, I've always appreciated her work. But definitely, there's an evolution always to the artists, and their personal lives are continuously, changing and all that. And so it's amazing also to see that, when things really go deeper in that person's artwork, because they're continuously trying to explore and understand their own private world, right? Also how to, deal with hard times and good times, and then also, intellectually. I think Potts has also, been able to dive deeper into her work in that sense. So the pieces that are coming out now, are just so much more profound.
I think that's amazing. I think it's so wonderful. To me, that's something that we talked about, I think, a little bit on the episode with Mitchell Kaufman and Charles Pate, right? Is, those motivations, those inspirations, right, Chad? I mean, you've been invigorated and motivated by some of the things that you've read. But Chad, do you remember a time that you saw some artwork that just made you go, holy moly, I got to get home and create? Is there a moment in time where you either a museum visit or a collaboration with maybe a very famous comic book artist that you got to spend an entire day with that potentially motivated you? I'm kidding. It's an inside joke here, guys.
Let it go.
But seriously, David Mack, we love you, brother. But no, all joking aside, was there a moment that you saw something that just, spoke to you or invigorated you and just got your creative juices going?
Oh man, there's not a single moment that I can think of. However, there are like little moments. Like I think of when I saw Marcel Duchamp's work at the Museum of Art in Philadelphia. That was incredible. to see that in person. And then when I was considering doing the portrait of my wife, I spent a lot of time looking at John Singer Sargent's work. And then the big landscape that I was working on before, when I saw the John Martin work in, I forget which museum I was in, but when I came across that was pretty mind blowing, because it was so different from the other thing. And I've talked about that particular one before, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So I think those are the main ones that I can think of. And then there are other times where, like, for example, recently on social media, I come across, it's an AI channel, and he makes AI movies, and he's doing these sci-fi ones that are just blowing my mind. His name is I'll have to look him up, but I have no offense, Deep Pixel, I have mixed feelings about AI, but this particular channel, I'm not sure how he does it, but let me find his name. It's Goblin or Green Goblin or something, but he does it. He's doing these futuristic sci-fi little movies, and he's putting them all together, and it's the most incredible stuff I've ever seen. And it's, like I said, it's a struggle for me because I know it's AI, and AI is pulling from other art and pulling from other movies and things like that. So I don't like that aspect of it. However, what I'm seeing here is like very inspirational for me. I've gone back to his videos for my own like inspiration, just to look at some of the designs that are on there. And I don't necessarily lift the designs from him, but I'm just looking at how some of the details that are in some of the helmets and the backgrounds and stuff like that, and using that as inspiration for my own work. Here, let me see here. I found, yeah, Gossip Goblin is his name. I mean, I don't want to sit here and promote him. I don't know anything about him. I just know, like, he's got these videos, these shorts that are AI videos, and they're super futuristic, and they're really, they're quite profound. So, anyways, I'm droning on at this point, but those are the ones that I think of.
I had a very, very specific moment when I was early in college. I was able to take a great trip and visit some friends and things of that nature. And I got to see some of original prints of, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on it? The Four Seasons. Oh, come on, guys. Muka, right? Is that what you said, Tom?
Yep.
Muka?
Yeah, Muka. Some of the original prints in full size of the Four Seasons, and it absolutely blew me away. It absolutely just kind of choked me up seeing them in a setting like that, so personal, so close. It was absolutely amazing. And then fast forward, over 25 years, I'm in our local museum here, the Speed Art Museum here in Louisville, Kentucky, which is a wonderful, brilliant, small museum here, and they had the traveling exhibition of Muka.
Yep.
And I got to see them again 25 years later. And you guys can ask my wife, it was equally as moving. You know what I mean? It was almost like it didn't hit me the same depth, because I remember being such a young artist going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it just takes your breath away. And I wanted to create and draw right away. But I did have that same experience when I saw them 25 years later of going, I want to go home and paint. I want to go home and create. And I think that's exhilarating as an artist, is when you see those things. We got Project Peacekeeper saying, I've seen those, seeing those famous Muka pieces. And what's really amazing is, Alphonse Muka, his story is a brilliant one. I encourage all of you listeners and viewers to go and read up on him, pre-World War II, post, towards the end there of World War II as well. But you should really take a look at the work. Art Nouveau is amazing. And I think you can actually probably see some of that in my work, actually. I think some of those influences translate over into some of the stuff that I do as well. But I think it's interesting. If you haven't had that moment as an artist where your creative juices get expiring, part of that, I think, and guys, you might agree or disagree with me, I have a feeling you'll agree, is find a community to get involved in, because it will motivate you and inspire you in that way. Tom, you got to see that because you got to interact with the artist and with the artwork, right? If you don't get out and you don't engage with others, if you don't communicate and build your own community, sometimes you don't get to have those aha moments or those inspirational moments. So I encourage you to get a part of that. And if you only get to be a part of one community, be a part of this VAAS community. We love having you guys here. It's amazing.
Yeah, I remember that show at the Speed Museum. It was pretty incredible to see those like for real. I say that that's such a boring way to say that. See, in person, to see the actual work originals. Yeah, it was incredible.
It was absolutely amazing.
I was really hoping, because at the end they kind of built it up like his what is he called, the Slav, I forget what they're called, the Slav epic, I think it is.
Yes,
I thought they were going to have one of those at least.
I thought so too.
Yeah, because they were building towards it, and then at the end it was just a video about those, which was fine. But like, man, I really wanted to see one of those in person.
Me too.
But,
I agree.
Yeah, those things are huge, though. So yeah.
It's wonderful to have museums. We here, all of us here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio, we love our museums. We love our public artworks. We love all of that stuff because it's a way to experience it. And actually, Tom, you said something the other day that really struck me. You were really passionate about, your experience, but you were talking about, her artworks going, her artwork needs to be seen. It needs to be out there. It needs to be experienced, right? And Chad, that's kind of what you're alluding to, is like when you were able to be at the Speed Museum and get to experience it and see it, it's okay if you're creating things, I think it's okay if you're creating things for yourself, right, to engage and to have self-expression. But a lot of it is meant to be, experienced and shared. Don't you guys think? I mean, Chad, you obviously tell your stories because you love your stories, right? But you're writing the silence, you're creating these books to have people engage with them and read with them, right?
No, I don't care about anyone. I do my own thing. No, yeah, I definitely, yeah, exactly. I do love museums. I often compare, and this is probably sounds sacrilegious, but I compare museums to going to a church or like a sacred experience. I mean, there's just something about being there in front of an original painting, knowing that same artist stood in front of that same canvas and painted, and seeing the brush strokes and knowing that they put those on there. There's just something intangible about that that's just kind of mysterious and I would say a bit transcendent. Like you're standing in a moment knowing that person, whether it was like 50 years or 100 or 200 or 500 years ago, was standing in that same spot. And yeah, there's just something amazing about that, especially like you had mentioned before, just reading art biographies or their journals or whatever, like to get a little glimpse of that person and then to see the work is just a whole nother level that you don't get when you just see it reprinted in a book. Yeah, so I love museums for that.
I don't think that's abnormal to say. I mean, I think we just recently had a student who was able to travel and see the David for the first time.
Yeah.
And she had mentioned to me that she was literally brought to tears standing in front of it. And she goes, I didn't, and I'm paraphrasing here, guys, but I think you guys get the gist. She was like, I knew I was going to enjoy seeing it in person, but she's like, I didn't know I would have that moment, right? That intensity. She's like, it literally moved me to tears. And knowing this individual, I was really kind of shocked to hear her say this, right? But she was just blown away by it. And just, I think that's one of the unique things of being able to experience art in person, right? Is it doesn't mean every piece of artwork is going to do that to you, but some will. And that's just such a unique moment. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I was at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City a couple of years ago, and they had Van Gogh's Starry Night in there.
Oh,
And it was crazy because it was like a celebrity. I mean, there was a crowd of people around that painting, and you had to kind of wait your turn to kind of like fish your way up there and finally see it. And you could only stand in front of it for a few, like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds. You don't want to hog the thing, be considerate of others, but it was amazing. It was like seeing a celebrity. Like all these people had their phones out and looking at it because it had such a history to it, and yeah, there's just something about seeing works like that. It's quite profound, I think.
I agree 100%. Well, it looks like we got a little bit of spinning wheel of death here on Tom. Hopefully he'll jump back in here in a second, guys. We'll get him going. As we said, he had a little bit of technical difficulties there earlier. Once he gets back in, we'll get him added back in. But Chad, it looks like, man, you've got quite a bit of work going on. So are you using a brush or a quill to get that line work going? Tell us a little bit about your technique and your process that you have going on there.
Yeah, no, these are fine liners. So this is a Faber-Castell pit pen fine liner. I like to use kind of a medium to small size. So this is a 0.3. I go in with a real light thin line, and then I'll go back over it and thicken it in spots to give some line variety. And then, like I was talking today with one of the students in my pen and ink class, you use thickness of line to indicate a bit of shadow as well. And so it just gives your drawing a bit of not only variety, but also some depth to it, even just in the way that you use the line. So.
We've got Thomas back. Thanks for sharing that,
back.
Chad. I always think adding in some of those little tips and tricks, right, just makes such a big difference. Letting some people know some of the skills and tools. Don't be afraid to ask us what tools are we using. We are happy to share all that information with you guys, get all of that out there for you all, and really kind of get some of that information into your hands so that you can find these tools, utilize them yourself, and hopefully get creating. I am going to let you guys take the floor a little bit because I'm going to try to mix up a beautiful little color here for a glaze. We do have some comments from Deep Hooks Art there, Chad. Yep. I don't know. I apologize. I missed some of them there.
No, I was just looking at them. I can get to them.
Thank you, good sir.
Yeah. So he does confirm that he is a real person, but I still question maybe that's the bot trying to confirm that he's a real person. No, he's a real person, or she. I don't know. Whatever. They also said, here, I'll put the comment up. It's kind of a long one. He says, I chose my name to honestly represent what I do, to show that I'm not trying to hide or pretend. When I use AI, I see it as an extension of my thoughts, not a replacement for human depth. It's a tool that helps me explore new possibilities, but I believe true human expression carries a kind of soul that AI can't fully reach. Still, I enjoy discovering what it can reveal when guided by real intention. So there's a lot in that comment that I really agree with and really like. I definitely agree that these technologies are just tools. You can't replace the creativity that comes with being human. And you can definitely tell that because when you see a lot of these, now AI is still pretty young. So there may be a time that comes where it truly does fool us, which I fear that day. But yes, I think it can be used to discover and think through new ideas or new techniques or whatever. Just like with when the camera came out and people thought that we would no longer paint or draw or the computer, any new technology comes out, we always fear what it will do to us. And I think AI is the same. My only concern with AI, obviously, as I've shared before, is that it relies on it only relies on what exists already, and so it's taking from creative expression that's already out there. Now, the kind of the argument against that could be, well, there are plenty of famous artists, and I forget who is the one that's famous for saying like, good artists copy and brilliant artists steal or something. I forget what it is, but either way, all artists will borrow or steal or copy from other artists. So yeah, you could definitely make the argument that AI is just doing the same thing that the brilliant artists throughout history have done. And yeah, you could definitely make that argument. I just am a little hesitant with it, but I do agree that it is just a tool that you can use, to explore new possibilities and things like that. Deep Pixel Art also follows up, and then I'll let you guys kind of, put in your thoughts on that. But he says, listening to you really helps me understand creativity on a deeper level. That's all me. That's not Seth. You're welcome. He says, I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful I discovered your channel, and I look forward to your episodes every week to keep learning. Thank you so much. And I would say now that Thomas is on the channel, really, Seth is just kind of, he's a third wheel. So
I'm obsolete.
I've got this. we've got this under control. No, I'm just kidding, of course. We are super thankful for you, Deep Pixel Art, and thank you for your comments and interactions and all of that. And I'm glad that what we have to say helps you as an artist. I mean, that's the whole goal of what we do at
Absolutely.
VAAS and what we do on this channel for sure. I've got one more. I'll let you paint. I'll let you get to painting, Seth. Here's from Matt. He says, "Glad to see everyone. A friend and myself are getting ready to see the new Superman movie. I pray this
Nice.
session is a huge blessing to you all, as I know it is to all who are watching. Thank you all for your teachings and help. Thank you and love you all." Well, thank you, Matt.
Oh,
I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the
absolutely.
Superman movie. I'm planning to go see that with my son here in a couple weeks. I'm taking him and a friend out once his friend gets back from vacation. But I am looking forward to seeing the new Superman movie.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt, for such a wonderful comment. We're so grateful for you as well. Boy, if you guys can't see, I'm starting to put this first glaze on here, and I am loving it. Oh, this burnt orange is just fantastic. And the grisaille is really letting it come to life. And I don't know if I can get it close enough, but let me see. Guys, I am loving this right now. Oh, you can see those little hints. I don't know if you can get enough. It's very subtle, but it's starting to come to life, and I am so happy with it.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to be careful. I don't want to reignite the layers underneath. And I've been a little bit more patient this go around. The first time if you guys remember on camera, I pulled up some of my underlayers. I got overly zealous. And so I've been patient enough letting this dry, and I don't want to overwork it. But this first glaze is looking pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with it. So Tom, we didn't really, because of the camera issues, we didn't really get to dive in on what you're working on. We know that you've been working on some abstract work as of late, some forms and dimension and some value control and things like that. But tell us a little bit about what you've got going on.
All right. Well, this one is one I started I think on the first live I joined, and I believe it was actually Matt who had asked when I was on with just Chad, whatever happened with this drawing. And so, I did leave it where it was, and I wanted to continue on it this week. So going a little bit, deeper now with the values and all that. Otherwise, let me see. I was working on this painting last time, which I've also let it kind of simmer right now, just so I can work on, kind of stand back and really analyze how, kind of what I need to push. I'm very happy though with the water kind of reflections and movements that underneath the boat, that's also kind of. And then I also, sorry about the dizzying angle there, but I don't know if that's, that one I was also working on. And that I might do at the next live, actually, is continue with that other painting. But yeah, right now, just working on this one. I think I'll be able to finish it in this session, hopefully. But, it's funny because it's the I don't know if tedious is the right word, but definitely it's the fine-tune work right now. It's at that stage where I have to kind of slowly build layers, push values. So a little bit like you had with your painting, you kind of want to speed up through some stuff, and that ends up creating a bigger problem. With pencil and graphite, the problem I would create there is getting the graphite too waxy and shiny versus slowly building up values. So if I go too hard, too fast with, to get a darker value, I'm just actually going to create shine. And that's, not what we're looking for. We're looking for, really layer upon layer of thin layers of graphite that will make up, those darker volumes.
Which, Chad, that is something that we, and Thomas, I know you've taught so many, art lessons and classes. Guys, is that not a challenge for young artists, right? They want to dive in, they want to go quick. Is that not, and I'm saying this because we get a lot of viewers who do create. That is absolutely something that is a challenge for a lot of artists, right? Is they want to speed up, they don't want to have the patience. but there's and you guys are gonna have to help me with this. Is it cathartic? Is that the right word? Is that what I'm looking for? There's something cathartic in that process, and by doing it, patiently and building those layers, the result is just significantly better. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, for sure. And the main thing
Yeah,
is,
100%.
yeah, go ahead. No, what I was gonna say is, you got to get in the zone, but when you're in that zone and it's laying down perfectly, I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, we actually had that. Patricia and I actually had that conversation, and I've had that conversation with Layla as well, another of our students and assistants, just about taking your time. So Patricia and I were drawing a sphere and shading it and just talking about highlights and light sources and reflective light and all that kind of thing. And so we were drawing side by side the same thing, and I just kept like very light layer, very light layer, very light layer, and she just kept going like, man, you're just taking forever just on these layers. I'm like, yeah, but that's how you have to build that up slowly. And what happens is your gradations look very smooth. You especially around the edges, you can get this really nice like layered effect. So you can still have hard edges, but it feels more real. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a softness to it when you work in layer upon layer upon layer.
Mm-hmm.
But Thomas, I do have to commend you because I haven't figured out how to get rid of the shine. I've done layer after layer and I still get shine, and it drives me insane. So I've got to slow down even more. So
Yeah, my number one tip is don't forget to sharpen your pencil every, basically 2 minutes that go by. You got to just give it that sharp edge, and that's what allows you to have control of, a thin layer on top of the previous layer.
Oh, that's good. I'll have to try that.
I mean, and there are tips and tricks, but at some point, graphite gets shiny, right? I mean, at some point, there's only a certain level of mattness that you can get. And Chad, I think you even tried, and I may be misspeaking here, so I apologize if I am, but I think you even tried what were they called, matte pencils, right? That are specifically, but that didn't work out quite as well, did it?
No, they just don't blend real good. They're kind of chalky, and it's because they I think I'm right on this. I think they add a little bit of charcoal to the graphite and compress it together, and no matter how I did it, the grain of the paper would show through no matter how sharp I got the pencil. Right. And it wouldn't blend very well and everything. So it got rid of the matte for sure, but the downside was they weren't particularly smooth. So it's kind of a give or take. You gotta kind of work with it and figure out what works best for you.
Well, if any of you guys out there have suggestions or have tried some stuff on your own, let us know in the comments. We'd love to give it a shout. Or if you're a manufacturer of graphite pencils, we'd love for you to send some our way. I'm sure Chad, Thomas, and myself, we'll test them out. We'll let the students have fun with them. Faber-Castell, if you're listening, I love you. You guys are amazing. Send stuff my way. I'd love to test them out for you guys. Hint, hint, wink, nod, nod. No, I think that is one of the constant challenges, especially as young artists. I did a demo today for one of our intro to art sessions, and we were talking about value scales, right? The use of creating value scales and controlling your medium, controlling your mark making to have that ability to control the values. And I told them, I said, one of the first things that a lot of young artists do, and before I could finish speaking, they were already in there going, like this. They were going, and I'm like, no. Most young artists, we got to work on building layers. And so I agree entirely that is a challenge for a lot of artists. But once you get there and have that patience, the results are worth it.
Yeah.
I've got a material question since we're talking about drawing materials. I keep saying I've seen this on both the Lime Academy page and I've seen this on some other artists that I follow, and they'll draw with I think it's charcoal, but it looks like a graphite stick, like a woodless graphite stick, but it's a kind of long stick that you can sharpen to a point and you can draw with it, but it blends like charcoal. So I think it's compressed charcoal, but it's not like the standard sticks that you get in the store. It's like I don't know. I wish I could like almost maybe I should just call Lyman Academy and figure out what they're
Yeah.
using, because I'm like, I really want to find it and I really want to use it. I'm like, I see
Now,
them using it.
graphite or charcoal?
I think it's charcoal,
Okay.
but it's not like those, like, you know, those standard sticks that you get, you know, at the store or whatever, or even on Amazon. It's like it's a lot long. It's a longer stick. It looks like a woodless graphite pencil, but it's not graphite. It's actually charcoal, as far as from what I could see.
Nikrams?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Nitram?
Where'd you get that?
At some art supply store somewhere.
All
I
right.
think on Blick Art. I
was gonna
ordered it online. But yeah, they come in different like colors based on the hardness or whatever.
Okay.
Nitram is the.
Now, is that compressed charcoal or more like
It's a
willow?
compressed
Or
charcoal, but I know you can shave it down into like a pencil. Like you just,
okay, I may try that. Yeah, yeah. And how do you spell it?
NITRAM, Nitram.
Nitram. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
I'm going to have to get better about going into the comments after these live streams and adding links to all of this stuff, all the artists we talk about, all the supplies. Or if you're on the comments, drop them in there for us. We love it when you guys participate and get engaged. These are some great things, guys. I love hearing it. I love seeing it. It's absolutely amazing. We're so grateful for all of you all jumping in, diving in, getting engaged with us. I am going to move some of these around, though, because they are not. There we go. Now they're lining up with us. Give us a like, follow, and a share. And Thomas, I'm curious to see how that Nitram pen or pencil actually sharpens up. Chad, we're going to have to get you some, and you can kind of give us a heads up on how it works, what it does, how it goes. I think those things are absolutely amazing. It looks like Thomas may be going for it right now.
Yeah, this is what you're gonna need. It's a paddle with the sandpaper
Okay.
on each side. It's also Nitram. There's the name.
Nitram. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So with this paddle, you grab the block and you start just going in one direction.
Yeah.
And that's why they come in blocks. And so you just go in each direction, obviously at an angle, and that starts,
Yeah.
making that fine point. And you get a nice long point. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Thank you for that.
That paddle looks so much better than the standard little sandpaper paddles that I've always used. I'm going to get some of those for us,
Awesome.
Chad,
Yeah,
because
the brand is amazing. If they're listening, we're happy to test you out.
I'm excited. Those little handheld ones, with the sandpaper attached. If you're an artist, you probably use them. You may not even realize what it's for. I know a lot of our students are like, wait, what is that for? It's to sharpen down your edges, right? And Chad, you actually teach that in a couple of our class sessions. But it's really amazing when you can get a really sharp, dedicated edge. At that point, Chad, you and I have kind of described it as it's almost like sculpting, right? Like sculptural. It's almost like you're chiseling away at the value rather than rubbing graphite on there. It's like it's just sculptural instead of drafting at that point. Want to say see you later to Project Peacekeeper. He says, great stuff, guys. Keep it coming. Got to run. Great to see you as well. Thanks for jumping on. So glad that you got to see the Alphonse Mucha pieces as well in person. They're absolutely spectacular. They are like life-changing to see in person. So glad you got to experience that along with Chad, myself. I think, Thomas, you've seen some in-person Muchas as well. It's wonderful when you get to experience that artwork in person. To everybody, we just had quite a few people jump on Instagram Live. We're so grateful you guys are joining us. I'm Seth Jones, co-founder, along with Thomas Tupper of the Visual Arts Academy and Studio. And we've got our very own, one-of-a-kind, humble wizard, master draftsman, Chad Nuss. And we're working on some unique artwork throughout the evening. And we hope you are too. We hope you're creating with us. We hope you're doing all kinds of fun stuff. We talk about just about everything between what's been really topical lately is AI art and the integration of it into the art community. We've talked about art history, influences, skills, techniques. We've gone over just about everything. So don't hesitate. If you have a question, let us know in the comments. We're happy to share any information that we have. We're so excited for it. Electric Mags, great work, guys. Love it. So does my son. We're so grateful, Electric Mags. We're glad that you guys love it. Thanks for watching and joining us. We love that you guys are part of this community. It's so exciting. Chad, I got to be honest with you. I am in love with my glazes right now. And so I'm almost sitting here going, I've got to mix up another one, and I want to keep moving forward because I'm going to zoom out here in a little bit. And I think you guys are going to be greatly pleased with how this is looking. But I will tell you, the air conditioning just turned off here, and it is starting to get hot. So I'm going to step away, turn down the heat a little bit. But Thomas and Chad are going to turn up the heat for you guys here at VAAS Live. So I hope you guys got something off the cuff to give them some good heat for us. But I'm going to step away for just 1 second. I'll return in just a second, guys.
I'm doing some Amazon shopping right now. I found you. I found them. I found the Nitrums. Yeah, I'm gonna buy some.
Okay, let me just compare. Let me see.
And I'm back.
Oh, we said some very profound things while you were gone.
I was gone like 10 seconds.
Hey, man.
How did I
Snooze,
miss
you
it?
lose, man.
Oh, man.
So I'm gonna put up the website where I usually buy art supplies from, just because they have it all, but it's also good to compare.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I see it. Yep.
Yeah, that's where most of the studio supplies come from, guys. We purchase primarily through Blick. It's absolutely a wonderful supply store. They have a great history. And Tom, you've actually visited. So is our apprentice Layla, the New York store, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about that, because I have not been there. Chad, have you been to the Blick art store up in New York?
No, I've never been there.
It's a problematic place to enter if you're an artist, that's for sure. It's just so much candy everywhere, and it all looks so nice and new and shiny that you start putting things in your basket. You're like, heck yeah, I'm gonna start doing gouache. These gouaches look amazing. You never take them out. So I say go with caution, but yeah, it's worth it. They got awesome quality stuff. Of course, they're not the only ones. There are other stores that are specialized and whatnot. I'm not saying only stick with Blick art, but it's definitely a good starting place. And for their online, definitely you find everything that you need. So at any stage of an artist's career, it's a great shopping market.
I'm having a dilemma here, guys. I need your help. All right, so I'm going to zoom out on this if I can and not knock anything over. So I've got my burnt orange glaze in on this super soft blanket, which I think looks just awesome. First glaze down, looking really good. But I've got these darker areas here that I've got to put a glaze on. But I'm so excited because I want to move up to the pillow. and so the challenge is I've got my raw umber, right? This is a grisaille in raw umber and white. And this is my super dark raw umber, pretty opaque base layer, right, for the grisaille. I want a hint of color here in this glaze, but I don't want it to overpower. And I'm thinking a raw sienna or a burnt sienna. I don't know what you guys would think, but it's pretty much, because the problem is this top part of the blanket is raw umber, right? The color of it is raw umber, but I want to accent a little bit, and I'm thinking that reflective orange here, if I can bring some of that reflective red into this raw umber. Or do you think that the raw umber is already enough that these two are reading well together? Any thoughts?
From my side, it looks a little bit flat on the darker.
Yep.
The one. So when my initial thought when you said of adding some hue, some color would be alizarin or crimsons. Just a little bit mixed in with the raw umber that you've got, so you get kind of just an off raw umber.
Yep. So a little warm hint, maybe like something warm, Tom, to bring it into those oranges.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was going to say too.
The master draftsman speaks on color.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see what it is. The good thing about glazes is if you don't like it, if you don't love it, oftentimes you can pull it off. And so I'm going to see what we have here. And
so how are you doing the glaze? Or what do you mix in to your oil?
So, well, it depends. Really, glazes really should happen with transparent or semi-transparent pigments. You don't really ever do a glaze with an opaque pigment. And that can be sometimes challenging, right? Because of your colors and your pigments that you have available to you. But I use a a medium of linseed oil, and I use a little bit of Galkid Light, simply because it's the drying time, right? I like to work a little bit faster. So that extra little bit of Galkid Light works in and helps my layers dry a little bit quicker, which I enjoy, because then I can come back to it and add my next glazes a little bit sooner. Now, I typically only get to work on this every so often throughout the week because I'm teaching classes or whatever else. So the drying time's not something super scary for me, Tom, but I'm usually mixing in probably about a 60-40 split, 60% linseed oil or glazing medium, and then a little bit of of Galkid Light mixed in at 40% or so as a ratio. And I find that that's how I work. Now, everybody's a little bit different, right? Everybody has different methodologies and has different ways of working, which I think is absolutely wonderful. But that's kind of what I like, because I find that I don't want to wait forever for these glazes to dry so much that I don't get, when I have opportunities to paint in between lessons and things of that nature, that I'm still going, oh, nope, it's tacky. Can't add on that next layer.
Right. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think, there's a starting point, and then you got to also experiment. Those studies, or if you want to experiment while working on your piece, that's fine too. You just have to live with some consequences. And to that end, going back to my drawing and the conversation we had earlier with Chad on the darks getting very shiny with the pencil, I found that 2B and above was creating that problem, was exacerbating that problem. So I draw with B and HB. And so I find that combination, and mainly with HB, that's kind of my happy place. Yep. It's a slower process. You have to be more patient, laying down light grays. But when you want to start adding on top those darker values, it doesn't get shiny so quickly.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. That's good.
Well, and Chad, so this is interesting to me, because you do like more traditional style graphite work, but then you do your comic work. Do you utilize different tools for each of those, or do you stick pretty much the same across the board?
Between traditional and comics?
Yes.
Yeah, with the comics, I typically I'll use like a 2H or a 3H or a 4H pencil to kind of sketch things in, and then I use a mechanical pencil for more the cleaning everything up and making all the details and everything like that. Whereas in a traditional drawing, I'll very rarely touch a mechanical pencil.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have anything against using a mechanical pencil in traditional drawing, but I just will sharpen my pencils really, really thin and sharp, and go from there to get the details. But yeah, so traditional, I'll use lead pencils, and much like Thomas said, I usually like a 4H for like the initial sketch, and then HB for the middle, and then kind of like 2 and 3B. But I do tend to get into like the 6 and the 8s, 8B, which gets me a lot of shine.
That's the dark side, yeah.
yeah. So
sorry, fellas, I am so in the zone, which I guess is partially pretty good for the live stream, but I am just, I'm so happy right now. It's nice when it comes together, right? When you see your process work, when you feel comfortable and you feel like, yes, I've got it working, I've got it going, or, like just the conversation, the simple conversation of you guys of mixing in. So what I ended up doing, Tom, is I took a little bit of alizarin crimson, took a little bit of burnt umber, burnt umber, right? And a little bit of burnt sienna, kind of combine those in, and I am just getting what I think is just beautiful. And I'm just so happy with the layering right now. The grisaille is flowing through pretty nicely. And so if you're watching, guys, this is as happy as I get usually when I see a process. This is amazing. And I'm so grateful I get to do this with you guys. It's like we're in the studio together.
Yeah.
Seth, do you have any reflections from the first week at camp?
Oh yes. Oh man, camp was absolutely amazing. You know, we had a goal as an academy and as a teaching team. You know, all three of us, as well as Michelle and Zach and Caitlin and Miss Sarah and Layla, as a whole team, we had a goal that if we were going to do camps, we wanted camps to be fine art camps, not daycare, right? And I'm not knocking all those other options and all those other places. You know, a lot of parents need that help throughout summer and everything that they've got going on. But we really wanted to make sure that it was fine art focused. And I just think it was absolutely exceptional. I got so much wonderful feedback from, you know, the parents that were involved, the students that were involved, and the work that these young artists did. I mean, we had camps from 6 to 15, ages 6 to 15, and it was just absolutely amazing. It was so wonderful to see all these young artists get exposed to some techniques and skills that they may not have utilized before. Well, actually, I know a lot of them had not utilized. It was absolutely amazing. 7 to 8 hours a day of just creative artwork that it really was, you know, some incredibly talented artists. And the work that they were producing, Chad, was just spectacular. So I got to tell you, it's a lot, right? It's tiring. It's a lot, but it was just so wonderful. And the campers were so wonderful. And I think it's absolutely one of my favorite projects, Chad, was we did a group collage of 5-inch by 5-inch canvases of Van Gogh's Cafe. And it was so challenging for half of the students because they couldn't quite grasp the concept of not over mixing the paint. Like, Van Gogh would place paint, do impasto style painting, and he would let the colors kind of layer on in big bulky groupings. But then when you see the final result, if you haven't seen it, go check out our social media, guys. We posted a video of it earlier. The final result was so exhilarating that all the students, and I'm not making this up, all the students stood back about 10 to 12 feet from it, and they were all doing this number. That looks pretty good. And I'm like, yes, it looks amazing, And so to see the joy, because some of them were really challenged with it, right? We literally had one student, Leah, if you're watching, Leah, if you're watching, she literally looked at me and she goes, I've never focused this much on painting in my life. And the two pieces, the two squares that she did were just so spectacular. The whole group was amazing. Chad, it was everything we could have dreamed of and more for a VAAS art camp. And I'm excited because we're not doing it this coming week, but the following week we get to do it again with a whole nother group of students. So I'm tired and exhausted, but man, it's just one of those moments where as a teacher, Chad, you just go, this was it. This was 5 days of excellence and just such an amazing experience.
Awesome. That's great. It's great to hear.
Dun, dun, dun. I may sleep for like 24 hours straight, but I think this is. And I am going to say something else. I was absolutely blown away by our assistants, our intern, and our apprentice. It's one thing to be a teacher, a regular teacher who has a ton of experience, and to be with young artists for that length of period of time. But our intern, if you're out there watching right now, she may be sleeping as well. Ellie, you were absolutely brilliant. Our apprentice, you guys have heard us talk about her quite a bit. Layla, you were absolutely superb. I'm blown away, Chad, at the assistants that we have in young artists and their growth, their leadership skills, their talent, their management skills. Just absolutely amazing. And we could not have had as amazing we wouldn't have had as successful of a camp without them. So we are so incredibly fortunate to have all of the team here at VAAS that we have. And a big shout out to those two ladies because they were spectacular. As well as Miss Sarah for the tie-dye, because I have no experience in tie-dye. And all the young students left with their camp shirts feeling incredibly accomplished. So Miss Sarah, if you're watching as well, I'm so grateful that you came in and jumped in on that tie-dye. It was an absolute team effort and a huge success. And I think the young artists just had a fantastic experience. Incredibly blessed indeed.
So Deep Pixel Art asks, Can you share a conversation that changed the way you see your own creativity?
I have one really prophetic one. I don't know if I should dive into it or not. It involves your dad, Thomas.
Oh, nice.
It was, I guess, anybody else want to dive in, or should I take it?
I think you should take it. You're halfway there.
Yeah.
So I was a relatively young man, and we were very fortunate at the time. I was living out in Vail, Colorado, and Thomas and I both like to ski and snowboard, and we were very fortunate to get to have an experience together up there, along with Thomas's dad. And I think he's one of the wisest men I've ever met in my life. And he was so wonderful to me and mentored me in so many ways. And I had really been struggling. I've shared this story with many people, actually. Chad, I don't remember if I've showed this one with you or not. But I was really kind of struggling at that point because I'd fallen into teaching and I wasn't really creating as much. I had stopped creating my epis. I wasn't really producing a lot of artwork. I'm going to pause painting for this one because it is one of the most prophetic moments I've had conversation-wise that changed the way I saw my own creativity. And Thomas's dad, Glenn, we were riding on a bus after a full day of skiing and snowboarding, and he was just politely asking how my creative endeavors were going. And I said, well, I just haven't really done much, sir, and I'm kind of struggling at the moment because I don't know if I really like my work and or if it's any good or if anybody's ever going to like it. And I'm paraphrasing at this point, but I could probably get it exact. And he just kind of paused as he usually did, and he just didn't say much, and he let me continue. And I said, well, I just don't know if it's ever going to amount to anything, and I just don't know if it's ever going to reach anybody, and maybe I shouldn't just do it. And so finally, he very calmly, and he was a man of very, few words, prolific words, and he just goes, well, do you love it? And are you doing your best work? And I said, well, maybe I'm not doing my best work, but I do like it. I really do like what I'm doing. I like the stories I'm telling and things I'm doing. And he goes, well, the world's not as big as you think it is, Seth. There are millions of people in this world that will love what you love. And so focus on putting your best work out there and loving what you create. And if you do that, there will be boundless amounts of other people that will love it too. And then he just left it at that. And I remember standing there holding my snowboard, dripping in snow and soggy wet pants going, holy crap, just because I had never heard anything like that before, right? The idea that if I just focus on what I love and giving my best effort to it, that the world's really not that big. There will be other people that love it too. And it just hit me so hard that I remember going, gosh, that's it. That's the focus, right? Focus on that, and the world will connect with it in some fashion. And that truly is one of, if not the biggest conversation that changed the way I looked at my own creativity. And that's the truth. And that was probably almost, gosh, I don't even know how many years now, maybe 20 years, 18, 20 years, something like that. And so Deep Hooks AI art, that's the one that stuck with me. And I continue to pass that message on as best I can as a teacher and an instructor, a coach. And in the last 18 to 20 years, I've come to realize that Glenn was absolutely right. And it was some of the best wisdom that he could give me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's good wisdom. It's good. I've had that conversation with one of my students a long time ago as well. And, I said the same thing. It's also, if you create something that you like, ultimately it's going to resonate with other people. We're all kind of connected in one way or another. So I don't think you should doubt, your creative process. You should always just be analytical and looking for that growth.
Chad, what about you? Did you ever have a conversation that changed the way that you looked or created, or?
Well, there was this afternoon a couple of years ago, and I had the opportunity to spend a whole day with a very famous Marvel artist, and the things he said to me were just so mind-blowing that if I were to share them here, I would betray his trust But he did mention that someday that I would run into some other artists that were insanely jealous that I had the opportunity to spend so much time with him. And it just really transformed the way I thought about myself as someone that had privileged access to one of the greatest comic book artists of all time. And, so yeah, I just consider myself a very lucky person as a result of that.
I'm not even jealous. I'm just grateful that I get to live vicariously through you with that experience.
No, I can't. Honestly, I can't think of a single conversation like that. Yeah, and it's one of those where, if someone asks you what's your favorite movie, and any other time you could think of one, and then as soon as someone asks you, your mind goes blank. So I'm trying to think of one like that.
Well, and I don't even want to. And here's something I think is somewhat interesting as well, is I don't want to downplay even the not so prolific conversations, right? There are so many early mornings or late evenings or just afternoon walks that I've had with other artists, such as Chad or Thomas, or even some of the individuals that we had the pleasure of knowing, in college, such as, Jorge Alvarez or Mitch or Charles or Professor Cummings or Professor Deborah Moshe, or even, Phil Young or any of these people, because a lot of times, yeah, you can have those prolific moments like I had with Glenn and other individuals. But the reality is it's sometimes in those micro moments. It's in those little moments that just, change the way that you perceive your own work and get you excited and, and changing the way that you perceive yourself as a person, as a friend, as a collaborator. And I think a lot of times those build over time, right? And so that's why surrounding yourself with people and collaborations like we're doing through VAAS Live is so important, because it changes the way that you perceive your own creativity. Chad, on one of the first few episodes, we had a young lady on who, you remember, she was like, I'm in a creative block. I can't create. I'm struggling. How do you guys get out of it? And, we were talking her through that. And then at the end of the conversation, she was like, thank you guys so much. This was so helpful. You don't know what kind of impact that has on her creative journey, right? Or on her own creativity. So it doesn't even always have to be the most prolific things. It can be a simple conversation. It could be a simple nudge or a simple bump, metaphorically speaking, that can get your creativity going and change the way that you perceive things. So I think sometimes we always think it's these most prolific things, which that can be true, like it was in my case. But a lot of times it can also just be something that's maybe not prolific. It's just a little nudge here or there, a little shift that helps you along your journey. And I think those are equally as powerful.
Yeah, I can share one from being in SCAD, one of the professors in the final year of my photo bachelor's of arts. There was that kind of moment where all students had to start questioning if they were going to go on to do a master's right away. And that's always kind of one of these, is it beneficial to your artistic career or not to do that? And in that class, that professor happened to be one of the ones that was on the panel that would review your work to then be accepted to the master's program. And, she asked the class, those who were thinking of doing the master's as soon as they finished this first part of college, to raise their hands. And surely enough, about 95% of the class raised their hands. And then she asked everybody except 2 students to lower their hands. And she said, based on, our criteria as a panel of judges for the master's program, because she was seeing our work, we're doing business practices in photography. And so, there was a lot of engagement with our work so far, our portfolio, all that, which, and ideally you're creating that portfolio to then go get, land jobs and whatnot. If you're doing editorial, even if you're doing fine art and you want to, be showcased in a magazine, how do you present your work in a coherent way, artist statements, all this stuff. And then how to bill appropriately and doing the invoicing and all that. Anyhow, she told us that based on her criteria as a judge on this panel, those 2 students were the only ones that she would admit to the master's program. And, this was the key factor, she said, and get this clear. It's not because you don't have talent. You've made it, to the last year of college here. You have the talent that's required, but you don't have a unique voice, a visual language that is telling me something different, and it comes back to that, you mimic the artist that you like and the stuff that you've seen, you make it your own, but ultimately to be able to create kind of your own language. And she said a lot of it, comes either because these students have already been developing this particular visual language of their own since they were probably in middle school, high school, and they've just stuck to it and have added components of, being more professional in their career as an artist. But also, a lot of people just need to go experience life and really have a deeper understanding of the world around them and of themselves. And that's where you start creating this work that, is really more emotive. I know in my case, I've created a lot of pieces that I enjoyed visually, but it was, not always that I feel that deep connection to it. In COVID era, that's when I started this series. And this for me was where I really started to understand my connection to these pieces and, why I really want to create them, why it's almost a need to create them. And I found that those pieces are the ones that also resonate with a larger public as well. And they're abstract, they're volumetric, but there's something that, pulls the viewer in. And ultimately that's I think a good goal to keep in mind. I don't know if you agree or not, Seth.
Oh no, I agree entirely. I think that, because I remember you having that conversation. That's the funny part. And I remember you even then going, "Holy crap, man, she just blew my mind," And I think it's fantastic and brilliant. And I commend that professor for having the courage to say that to those students, right? Because that's kind of a hard thing to say. I think you don't want to be discouraging unless you're Chad. I'm kidding, of course. But you don't want to be discouraging, but at the same time, you want to motivate and push them to achieve. I don't want to say excellence because that's achieve. Well, yeah, I guess I do want to say excellence. You don't want them to become mediocrity, right? To be mediocre or to become complacent. Exactly. Coach Cummings always used to say to me, he's like, complacency kills. And I feel like, sometimes that's the same kind of thing in artwork, right? And I think that was beautiful wisdom that she shared. And I'm glad that she was able to say it because I think, just from my perspective on your personal growth and work, it's exponential. And had you gone straight into a master's, I was very fortunate with my scenario to be able to do that right away. But it's one of those things where I don't know, I don't think it would have had the same resonance. You know what I mean, Tom?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Well, I think I would have forced myself into a corner, into a visual, my own visual language type of corner instead of allowing me more space to grow. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I finished college and I worked for several companies taking photos of sofas, lamps, tables, all kinds of stuff, doing all kinds of catalogs and whatnot, and continued my fine art, development after hours and on weekends. And if anything, it kind of gave me that freedom of knowing, okay, right, this is the work I do to generate money. This is the work I do to expand, generate my self-growth.
Right. I hope that we can provide beautiful insights to our students the same way that we've been given beautiful insights from mentors and colleagues and professors. I think that's something that, we all strive here at VAAS to do. And if you're a student of ours, we will do our best to give you similar pieces of wisdom customized to you and based on your growth and your experience and your opportunities, because it does make a big, big difference. And if you're watching right now, I do want to kind of explain this. I'm doing this a little bit different. I didn't do this on the blankets down underneath. But what I'm doing now is I'm actually lifting a little bit of this glaze because I want it to be soft. I want it to be a gentle glaze. So you guys can kind of see this. I'm going to see if you guys, so you can see the difference in this first glaze here. Oh, there it is.
Nice.
And so that's really looking lovely. but then I'm going to come up here, and this is the pillow. And so you can see the two different sides, okay? So that top half does not have a glaze on it yet. The bottom half does have a glaze. And so when you pull back, hopefully you guys can see that. Look at that. So awesome.
You get texture right away. You get that sensation of soft cotton or silk. The top one is a lot flatter.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
And so again, I'm going to continue to add layers on this, guys. But this is why I have fallen in love with the grisaille process along with these glazes. I just think it's just, it's going to be so rich when it's done. And Chad, maybe I need to be exhausted more often, because I can't tell you the last time I've had this much fun painting or this much success. It's got to be due to lack of sleep. Maybe there is something to those crazy artists, right? That, used to stay up for like 5 days straight and then try to paint.
Yeah, they usually hallucinate at that point. So hopefully,
maybe we won't go that far.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen to you.
You guys are amazing. I am just so grateful that I get to experience this with both of you. It's just such an amazing time. I mean, it really is. I mean, Thomas, for years, you and I always wanted to work together in the studios, and, time and space. And it's just amazing that the technology allows us to do this, Chad, from the comfort of your own home, so you can continue to be around family. I just think this is such a joy. I hope all of you guys watching are creating with us. I'm a Spacer Woman, Kentucky Blooms, Deep Pixel Art Defenestration, Electric Mags. I mean, everybody across all of these platforms. You guys are so amazing for jumping in and joining with us. But we hope you're creating too, because that's the whole point of this, is to engage with you, communicate with you, talk art, talk all kinds of philosophy, strategy, skills, technique. We learned a little bit about a new charcoal pencil, I think, that we found. And I think Chad's already probably bought like 15 of them on Amazon or from his online store that he's working with or whatever. But the goal is to be creative with you all. And so we're so grateful for everything that you guys do. We're so grateful that you guys join us, ask questions, engage with us. Let us know you're here, and give us a like, follow, and share. We do this every Saturday night, mostly, except for student exhibition evenings, which is next weekend, actually. So if you're paying attention right now, next Saturday, July 19th, we will be having a student showcase where from 6 to 8 p.m. instead of the live stream. Now, Chad and I may try to jump on and give you guys a heads up and say hello and kind of peek our heads out and show you guys what we've got going on. But next Saturday, we may not have a live stream due to that student exhibition. And if we do, it'll be a short little one just to wave a hello and then show you guys some of the gallery that we have upstairs in the studio space. So tune in next week for a short little bit, or follow us the following week there at the end of July, and we'll keep all this going. We're so glad you guys join us. And I've got to lower my canvas down. I'm too short. Chad, how excited are you for the student exhibitions? Because you've got quite a few students who will be showcasing artwork in there. What's it like for you as an instructor to see them have the courage and the confidence to put some things up to showcase and to let people see? Does it really, because some people are like, I don't really care about showing it. And other people, they're like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it's super exciting. And there's one student in particular that I was thinking about today, who he came in and just through some personal conversations just talked about like how anxious he was to just even be in class with other students and like draw in front of other people. I mean, not necessarily he's up there drawing, but the reality is you're in a class with other people, you're going to be drawing, they're going to see what you're doing. And so to see him from that space up into like wanting to produce portfolio pieces, wanting to show his work, it's really incredible. I mean, that's part of why we do what we do as teachers, to help encourage and guide and instruct students so they get to that place of confidence that they can show their work to other people. It's just like Thomas said, like if you're creating things that are beautiful and something that you enjoy, they need to be shown to other people. They need to influence others. So to see students embrace that, and we have a lot of students like that are a little more introverted, a little more, typically creative people tend to be a little bit like that. And so to really encourage them to have the boldness and the courage to put their work out on display for other people is awesome. It's amazing and energizing for me as a teacher, for sure.
Tom, what do you think, bud? Any thoughts on showcasing artwork? you know, I know you had this experience the other day where you kind of elaborated on that, but you know, you were adamant. You were, when we began this journey of the Visual Arts Academy and Studio, and we were looking at spaces, you were pretty adamant that we had to have a gallery space. You know,
Right.
tell us a little bit why that was so important for you. Why was that so powerful for you, especially considering our main focus has always been to instruct and teach students? Why was it something that you said, no, we have to have this for our students?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in the matter of critique session, critique from your professor, critique from your peers, and you know your ability to critique your peers and your own work. That's part of, you know, it's an extension to have this gallery space, especially showing the student artwork. It really continues that conversation of, you know, you, and back to what you and I always, you know, press a lot. That community. I mean, your artwork, even when you're in a class, that class can also become kind of a little vacuum. And your piece that you're creating, you know, it gets comfortable next to your peers for that class. But when you have all the students from all the different, you know, classes present on one same board, now it's, you know, your piece is having a conversation with other pieces. And you can also look at, you know, your own piece in that context. And, you know, context is very important. It becomes, you know, at least 50% of each piece, you know.
Yep.
You need to think about how it's shown, where it's shown, the time and place, then even the framing. You know, there's so many things that come into when a piece is actually up on exhibition. So I think, you know, for students, it's, we can say this out loud, but until they experience it, you know, that becomes material, and they all of a sudden, most likely, most of the time, you understand your piece, and you're also more, you get, you know, a sense of pride of your piece because it's up there, and you understand how, you know, what a finish line could look like versus just trying to get through a challenge of you know, creating an art piece. But then when you actually see it hung up, and it can go the other way as well, where you think that, you know, it's not really good, but then you see it up and in context, and you understand that it's actually visually successful. So that's a really important part. It also builds that confidence. It builds that idea of that, you know, you're creating pieces, even if they're for your own home, but, you know, you should think of, where's this going to be? You know, what's the final resting or viewing place of it? Not the resting place, but its final viewing place, you know?
I couldn't agree more. We do have a wonderful comment from I'm a Spacer Woman. Not painting currently, but I appreciate that VAAS exists. We'll have to drop by and visit next time I'm near Middletown. We hope that you do. We look forward to seeing you here. If you're new to us, we are open. We are in historic Middletown in Louisville, Kentucky, and we are open 10 to 8 almost every day except Sundays. And we would love for you to stop by, come and take a tour of the facility, meet some of the instructors, meet some of the students, see our wonderful gallery space that Thomas was just talking about. We're so excited to be a part of the community and to be a part of the creative endeavor for so many people. You guys are absolutely wonderful. And Thomas, I don't think I could have said it any better, buddy. I love what you talk about, how oftentimes you experience it differently from the creation process, right? That it's very different. And I know for a fact that we have had a number of students who, once they put their artwork up in the gallery, has had a completely different experience with the work they created than when it was on their drafting table or on their easel. And I think you hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Chad, you have a unique experience here in a similar vein, but slightly different, which is, and I'm horrible at this, but you have your studio space involved, and you have a lot of your work, you know, up and out for public display. And I'm grateful for that, because I always like to think that it's important for students to see the work of their mentors and their teachers, right? And it's important for multiple reasons. One, it's important for them to see the endeavors that we go through, both good and bad. We do some demo sessions as instructors and things like that. But it's a unique experience, because I often will take people on a tour of the facility even while you're working, right? It's almost like plein air painting or plein air drawing, where people watch you live as you're going through it. Is that a different experience, you think, than like the traditional gallery experience, you know, working live on something and having people come by and watch? Is it exhilarating? Is it terrifying? What do you feel I don't want to say when I walk by, but most of the time it's when I walk by with people and you're sitting here on your stool drawing on your massive paintings and drawings and charcoal work and stuff like that. How does that, because it's kind of like a gallery setting, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm kind of kind of an art nerd, so I really like that because it has that kind of old school feel where you have studio space where it's not just me. I mean, you're working on paintings. We have Owen that's here for the summer working on stuff. Sarah has a little spot that she has some work up. So there's something about, I think, that just gives our place kind of a special feel that they can walk in and see the instructors are also working on their own work. So I do like it when people come by and see what I'm working on and ask questions and interact with me. Just because that's part of, I would love the same thing. If I go into a studio and the artist is working there, I'd love to just watch and see what they're doing and then ask them questions and everything. I think it just brings a depth to what we have going on at VAAS. And I always appreciate when you bring people by, and I think it's special for people to visit and be able to talk to the artists that are here. So yeah, I love it. I think that's a great part of our studio for sure.
We have a beautiful comment here. Tom, if maybe you want to read this, or Chad, you know BJ. BJ has been an amazing student for us. She has a wonderful comment. If you guys want to take this one, I think it's absolutely amazing.
Go ahead, Thomas.
All right, let me see. BJ says, gallery totally took me out of my comfort zone. I have never had anything on display for others to see. I was so shocked when I walked by and someone was saying positive things about my paintings. Happy tears. That's all it's about. And that's exactly what, Seth, the conversation you shared that you had with my dad. I mean, if it's important to you and it's your passion, what you're creating is going to resonate with other people. But, you got to pull through and put it up there on that gallery space and have other people, come by and see it. And most likely there'll be positive comments. And when there's negative comments, don't be that. We go back to learning about how to do critique and take critique. Maybe there's something that they're seeing, and you have to understand not everybody has the art language necessary to correctly describe their feelings towards the painting, good or bad or neutral. So don't take it personal. Just try and navigate. Okay, what is this person maybe disliking about? And that can also help you grow. But definitely the positive, feedback is most likely what's going to come about. I've had paintings that I've done that I liked, but I didn't think it would resonate. And a lot of times, those are the ones that sell the fastest, and the ones that I'm really attached to, don't. But again, it's not. There's no one formula except get your work out there.
Well, and what I think is interesting is, and I've been so fortunate to get to teach BJ in multiple class settings, and I hope I'm not overstating here, but BJ is an incredibly confident person, a very powerful, strong individual. But there's something unique, right, about your artwork. It's almost like part of your soul. You're putting so much out there. It is intimidating and scary to put it on display in some cases. You know what I mean, guys? I don't know if you guys feel that same way or not, but sometimes it is a little intimidating because you work so hard on something and you put it out there. It's a little more than just like your standard, hey, take a look at this. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. To me, it is. It's often a deeper presentation, if that makes sense, or putting more on the line. Maybe, does that sound right? You're putting something on the line, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's the beauty and power of art, right? I mean, that's part of why we love it. That's why somebody can stand in front of the David and cry. Like without that, do you really get that kind of impact? I cannot wait to zoom out and show you guys this. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm happy with my stuff too. It's progressing nicely. The values are finally coming. I've got enough, graphite on the paper that I can actually start pushing values, and not just the gray zone, the that light gray zone.
That's awesome. Chad, how you doing, brother?
I'm okay. There's a little spot here that I'm working on. I'm not super happy with. It's a little messy, so I'm just trying to recover a little bit.
Now, that's something interesting. So on your pencils, the recovery is somewhat easy, right? So what happens when you're inking and you're in that phase and you get to a spot where you're like, oh, I'm not super incredibly happy with that. How do you recover from something like that, in pen and ink? Because pencil, you can erase, you can draw over, whatever it may be. How do you recover from something that you're not incredibly happy with, Chad?
So there's a couple things you can do. You can draw over. And so what I'm doing is putting in a little extra black areas. So I want to be very careful though, because this is closer to the light source. So I don't want to put too much black in here, but you can cover things up with ink. So if you don't like it, just put in, a little extra thicker line here and there or whatever, and it kind of fixes itself. The other option is I've got a whiteout pen that I can use, and that has rescued me from a lot of little mistakes. And then the last option is I can fix it digitally. So once I scan it in, I can go in and clean up some little parts here and there. So when I go back in to put in the words, the dialogue, and the word bubbles and all that kind of stuff, sometimes I'll go over a drawing just to make sure the little details are taken care of. But apart from the digital, let's just imagine I don't have that option. Then I'm gonna change some parts of the drawing on the fly, which for some people will probably make them really nervous using pen because it's very unforgiving. I don't mind it too much. I usually can fix it. So I have a bit of confidence in that, but I always know that I can use a little bit of whiteout too. So I'm not too, and the other thing is I'm not drawing something that's real. So I have some flexibility to kind of make some stuff up, and people won't tell the mistakes that I know that I've made, but they won't be able to see those mistakes. So,
well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know what a mistake is unless you tell them, right? I mean, they don't know how you intended it to be. Obviously sometimes in, some realism or realistic art, you can tell like a hand has 7 fingers or something, right? I mean, unless you're intending for they're meant to have 7 fingers. You know what I mean? But I agree with that. We've got a couple of comments here from I'm a Spacer Woman. I want to give a shout out. She says, I try to tell folks about y'all and Preston Art Center when I'm at work, Arts and Craftsman Supply, Louisville. Well, we're so grateful for that. We're so grateful. Louisville's a wonderfully creative city. We're so grateful for everybody to be supporting each other and all the community and the creative endeavors of everyone. And she goes on to say, if you've never heard of Studio Slew, SLEW in Brooklyn, I feel like VAAS is similar. The only reason I'm saying these out loud, guys, is because Instagram doesn't feed into our platform to display these. So I'm reading these out for you all. She's viewing from Instagram Live. Studio Slew in Brooklyn, I feel like VAAS is similar. I actually am not familiar with Studio Slew, but I will look them up. So I'm a Spacer Woman. I appreciate that very much. We will take a look and get excited for another creative space. And then she says, nice painting, by the way. Thank you. Chad, you normally get all the compliments, but I just got a good one about my painting. And then she actually, dang it. She goes, fantastic art to everyone, actually. Gosh. No, I'm kidding. No, it is. We're so fortunate that we have so many amazingly talented creative individuals that are involved here. It's a wonderful community, and it's exhilarating to be a part of it. I'm a Spacer Woman. Thank you so much. We love you guys over at Artists and Craftsmen Supply here in Louisville. You guys are absolutely amazing, and we're so grateful for your continued support. This has just been an absolute amazing evening. We've got so much more to go on. BJ, thank you for all the comments. Deep Pixel AI Art, thank you guys so much. If you guys come back here in a little bit, hopefully we can pick Matt's opinion about the new Superman movie without spoilers. Hopefully maybe he can share a little bit about his experience with that. We hope he's enjoying that movie. Patricia, we hope you're having a wonderful evening. I know that she is working on a ton of zingers for you, Chad, so she can bring them to the class and burn you pretty good next time we come up. But we're so grateful for everybody that's jumped on and is watching with us. I'm blown away. I'm so happy with where this painting has turned out. I'm just incredibly exhilarated. I want to go home, tonight, but also I think I could paint for another 12 to 20 hours because it's just going smoothly, and I'm just flabbergasted at how well this is turning out. So thank you guys for getting to be a part of it. We love you guys so very much. It's a wonderful experience for everybody. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. Chad, I'll let you take this one. BJ's just sharing the love tonight, and gosh, she just gives so many wonderful, comments and so much love and support. It's amazing.
Oh, sorry. You want me to read it? I was reading it to myself. Yeah, BJ says, guys, can I just say that the classes and the teaching that y'all are offering are amazing, but the family that you have developed with us all is priceless. So yes, I love that as well, because teaching is not just imparting information, it's also the relationships that you build with your students, and even with those families that are not taking classes, like parents or brothers and sisters, we try to also reach out to them and let them be included and part of this, as they're excited to see their kids or their brothers and sisters doing amazing art. We want to encourage them as well and thank them for being a part of that, for sure.
Speaking of which, next Saturday, July 19th, we have our end of semester art exhibition, as well as our first round of summer camps showcasing their artwork. So that is open to the public. You can come and visit VAAS. There's no admission fee, nothing of that magnitude. Come and take a look at our space and the student artwork. Be a part of that community. We're going to have little mini canvases and acrylic paint markers that you guys can create and take some artwork with you. We hope that you come and join us, and you get to experience, and you'll actually get to see some of Patricia's and BJ's and other students' artwork on the wall, and you can tell them how amazing it is and how wonderful they're doing. So July 19th, put it on your calendar, 6 to 8 p.m. here at Visual Arts Academy and Studio in Louisville, Kentucky. And if not, Chad and I are going to try to live stream a little bit for you guys. Maybe a little loud, maybe a little crowded, but Chad, I think we can get it done so that everybody that's all over the world that's joining us this evening and all of our other live stream sessions, you guys can get to experience this student exhibition as well. So mark it on your calendars, and we'll see you guys then. And BJ, it's just been an absolute joy, and I agree with you. The community that has been built here by everyone, it's not just us as instructors, it's by the students, more importantly, the students. It's amazing, and we're so grateful that everybody's so supportive of each other. It's just a fantastic experience. I'm scared to do another glaze, guys. I'm so jazzed. I'm like, do I try to put on another glaze, or do I wash my hands of it and say, okay, we have success?
I mean, keep going.
All right. I don't know what to do.
I mean, what's your plan?
Well, so I've got a little bit of a challenge here. I know that I want the part of the reason that I did a raw sienna underpainting. If you guys remember, instead of doing a yellow ochre underpainting on this piece, I started out with something a little bit more warm. And there's the raw sienna underpainting is on.
Mm-hmm.
I've done my raw umber and my white grisaille underneath. And this thing is super warm, right, temperature-wise, which is great because that's what I want. I want it to be incredibly warm because it's just this kind of glowing, picture of Everly sleeping. And I reworked some of the hair, so I have to let that dry. So I'm really hesitant to go into any of the face tones or the flesh tones because I want to make sure that dries so I don't pull any of that up or move any of that. I'm torn right now, Tom, because her shirt, she's wearing a white T-shirt, and I don't want to leave it just white, right? Like I don't want to leave it just white, but I keep going back to these blues. Like I want hints of these blues in there, but I need to mix up something that's a warm blue, right? Like I keep thinking of that, but then I go back to it and I go, maybe I don't want to do a warm blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason I want to do the warm blue is her eyes are blue, but her eyes are closed, so you're not going to get the resonance of the blue eye matching the blue hints of there. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I want to execute the shadows or the glaze in this white shirt? And do I want to go with like a reddish tint, or do I go with something blue? I'm torn from it. And in my reference photo that I have of her, let's pull that up. I'm going to take a look at that.
Yeah, that might help.
I mean, so it's kind of a cream.
Okay.
So it's kind of this light cream. So I'm wondering, if perhaps I take some of these two colors here. I've got BJ's hearts on there. Sorry. If I take, a combination of these two,
Yeah.
and lighten it up and cream it out, I think maybe that cream will look really good. Because the other thing is, and I talk about this a lot, I don't want to do too much because the flesh tones are going to accent everything else around it, right? So I've got to be careful because I don't want to make too many decisions until I can work some of those other areas also.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So that's why I'm kind of hesitant. I'm like, do I keep going or do I wait? I'm torn because I worked on the hair earlier, right, Tom? And so I've got to let that dry.
Okay.
Because if I don't, I'll go in and I'll pull a lot of that up. And
yeah, definitely don't touch the hair. What about the top corner, like that?
So that top corner is actually a white sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that same thing. I think I'm going to apply similar tones as the shirt.
Yeah.
So that top corner pulls you down.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm
getting stuck.
No, I guess I'm leading the question with compositionally, is that very highlighted top going to be distracting?
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe darken that up somehow and push the pillow towards us,
Yep.
Have it come into the foreground and push that lightness, so that it becomes a very optical background.
That's a very valid point, good sir. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to have to do a glaze on there.
So maybe that's
really
a good thing to do to finish up today is push that value darker and back. And but I do agree with what you said about the shirt going kind of how you have the pillow and then maybe pushing the pillow a little bit more into the umber.
Yeah. I think when I get those soft peaches and pinks and reds and some of those purples on her skin, that's really gonna oomph, right? It's really gonna push it.
Yeah, I don't see her shirt as a problematic part of the painting right now. I think that can be left almost last and resolved once you do have the skin tones, which are definitely more priority.
Important. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Chad, how's the solution coming? You getting it worked through, bud?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've recovered.
If I take you full screen, can you show us what you were talking about there a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to take this guy full screen. There we go.
All right. So what I'm trying to convey is up in the, see if I can grab my iPad. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So here's the whole picture. So up in this corner, this is where the light is coming down this like tunnel or shaft right down here. And this is your spaceship. That's why you have this long shadow behind the spaceship. So the part that I was really struggling with was up in this corner. Some of the ink work there was really kind of, what do I want to say, squiggly, wasn't really so this is architecture, and those lines need to be, for the most part, pretty straight, hard edges, those kind of thing, but it was coming off a little sketchy, and some of the perspective lines were not lining up correctly. So there's a darker area right in here, and that's what I was talking about. I filled in some of that with some dark, which is fine because it's gonna show or highlight more of the light down the center. So it's actually going to work in my favor compositionally to do that. You have to be careful because you don't want to just cover everything up with black, because then you're losing something in the page. But for here, I think it's going to work in my favor. And like I said before, it's a sci-fi scene. There's not really a reference for it. So whatever design I choose, it for the most part is fine. So I can make those changes without there being a big issue. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. I think it's coming along where I want it, and if there's any other big issues, I can definitely fix that. So
I think there's. Oh, sorry, Chad. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, with a little bit of whiteout, it should be fine. So
I think there's something to be said for what you were kind of saying, which is, does it read the way you want it to read?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
is it coming across the way that we want it to come across? And I think that's really important too. Right. And you can see this even in some of the master comic book artists. You know, sometimes it's not quote unquote, technically accurate or something like that, but it reads the way you want it to read. And I often find that in the world of digital art, you know, or like, you know, 3D, you know, art, we forget that sometimes, right? Like what they used to call in animation, the stretch and pull. You know what I mean? Like you used to emphasize on purpose certain areas or certain things because it was reading, quote unquote, reading or being perceived the way that you want it to be perceived. And I know that, you know, we talked a little bit about the Superman thing. There's been a lot of criticizing of some of these, you know, single screen grabs, right, from the 3D animators. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but that's not necessarily fair, because in full motion, that stretch and pull technique or some of those exaggerations will read the way that you want them to read. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Superman's hand may be 3 times bigger than it's supposed to be. Well, I hate to tell you this, a lot of Greek and classical sculptures' hands are massive, right? Because they're reading from a podium and they're 6, 7, 8 feet tall. And so I think sometimes it's easy to criticize some areas like that. But if it's reading the way that you want it to read, that's really the ultimate goal, right, Chad? And I think your top right corner there is reading beautifully.
Yeah, thank you. The other aspect of this as well is that it's a round kind of tunnel or shaft or whatever. So like around the edges, around the round part, a lot of those details are going to get a bit muddled or like squished together. So if there's a lot of line work, a lot of shading and that kind of thing, it's fine if it gets busy around the edges. That just also helps emphasize, or not really emphasize, helps describe this as a round tunnel. So that's where adding some extra black and some extra lines in there to cover up maybe some line work that I wasn't happy with works in my favor, because it's just emphasizing or showing the roundness of this tunnel.
Nice.
I agree. Tom, tell us a little bit about where you're at. I want to take yours full screen. You know, we've been in for about an hour and a half now. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on and the successes you've had, because, boy, you've got some beautiful chiaroscuro and sfumato and some shading. It's absolutely lovely. Let's see what we've got going on here, brother.
This might look better if I hold it the right way. So there's the top. Yeah, it's been a process of really looking for, you know, these kind of shadow areas. This one I'm really happy with right here. That kind of weight of one object on top of the other, casting shadow. Then also looking at, you know, kind of these, let me just get the camera. There we go. You know, this to be darker, really coming behind it. But yeah, it's a process. This will be fun. I'm looking forward to that almost final part. So that's going to be one of my final parts, as well as this. I mentioned this the first time that I started this drawing because I'm right-handed. You know, I'll leave that bottom right corner last. Otherwise, I'll be smudging it the whole time. And with this type of, you know, graphite process, I'm laying down a lot of graphite all the time. So, yeah. But it's turning out nice. It's a nice study. I like, you know, it's a square page, so compositionally, that's also kind of an interesting thing. And as I continue to work on it, it's actually one of the first ones that I have a few of these drawings that I'm excited to turn into a painting, and this one I think is going to go in that category as well.
That's absolutely fantastic. I think one of the things that's exhilarating for me is these live sessions give us a chance for all of us to step away from our daily lives and responsibilities and just work for 2 hours. You know, I mean, I keep looking at this painting. I'm going, man, I've been able to get so much work done on it. I'm so grateful that I get to create. And if you're watching this, you know, Chad and I talk a lot about, Thomas, I know you've talked about this a lot too. It doesn't always have to be 2 hours, right? You can step away for 5-10 minutes. Chad, you're teaching a brilliant sketchbook class, right? About the use of sketchbook to grow and to be a personal voice, things of that nature. I think you had your first class just the other day. You know, it doesn't have to be 2 or 3 hours of work time, guys. It can be just little moments here, little moments there, napkin sketches, your sketchbook. Chad, tell us a little bit about that, because I had one student come to me afterwards and go, it was awesome. I needed to hear what he was telling us. what was it that you were saying about, quick sketches or little moments? Because not everybody has 2 or 3 hours, that they can work on pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying a lot of brilliant things, so that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so
It adds up. It lines up.
yeah. No, I'm just kidding. That's
That's
actually
awesome.
that's actually very, very encouraging to hear that, because the sketchbook class is one of those classes where it's a mix of, you give some guidance and then kind of push people in that direction, and then they have to do a lot of the work on their own. Like when you have a sketchbook class, certainly there's exercises that I give and just say, well, here, work on this, or here, work on that. But that class, I'm gearing more towards almost like one-on-one mentorship. So as they're working in their sketchbook, I'm meeting with them one-on-one. Like, so I give them a class assignment to work on. So this first week, and I kind of joked with them. I said, okay, I want you to pick something that's your least favorite thing to draw. And I said, I don't want to do that to discourage you right out of the bat. But I said, most of the time when people use a sketchbook, they're only drawing all the things that they like to draw,
Right.
because it's typically the things that they're good at. And I said, the point of a sketchbook is for you to grow as an artist. Therefore, you should find the things that, maybe not your least favorite thing, but at least the things that are really challenging to draw. So as they were doing that, I would meet with them one-on-one. I asked them just a series of short questions, things from like, what's your weekly, monthly kind of practice of art? Have you used sketchbooks before? And what's your goal for your sketchbook for this class and then beyond? And then also, what's your favorite thing to draw and your least favorite thing to draw? And so with each student, I was able to kind of construct a 4-week plan for them to personally work on as an artist, and to see that the sketchbook is one of the tools for them to improve their artistic skill. So when you said that, I was actually really encouraged by the fact that someone came by and was so excited about the class, because as a teacher, you're always evaluating yourself, thinking through, did I do a good job, did I not do a good job? And that's one of those classes where the students really have to take the initiative to actually fill that sketchbook up. I can give them like work, or like I said, exercises, but at the end of the day, the sketchbook is really on them, for them to use as a tool. The more work they put towards that sketchbook, the more benefit they'll get. If they don't use it, that's fine. That's up to them, but they're not going to have the same kind of experience that another student may have. So yeah, that's kind of our approach in that class.
I would agree. And Tom, I want you to chime on this, because ever since we've met many, 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 many moons ago, I'm not using this word lightly, but you have used sketchbooks religiously. I mean, you have mounds and mounds and mounds of sketchbooks. It is something that to me is almost synonymous with you. Is you always have 1, 2, or 3 sketchbooks with you, and it's something that's so important. As he's probably pulling out one now, but I mean, you use them so regularly. It's a part of who you are as an artist. Tell us a little bit about how much sketchbooks mean to you and why.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 things. One, definitely what Chad said, is it's a kind of non-threatening way to work on those things that are challenging, or your weaknesses as an artist, or subject matter that's challenging, whether it's perspective, volume, anything, human figure, hands, ears, and feet, whatever it might be. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect is it's very subconscious brain type of exercises. So it's a way to just create without being so in your head, letting it really flow, because even with the pieces that you're consciously creating, you need to get into that zone where it's, this kind of creative lifeline that's just flowing through you, and you're just the person doing the motion, but that energy is, almost more raw. I mean, I'll show you, I'll flip through some of this sketchbook. I mean, this is the same stuff I'm doing now, but this is in just, with pen. So, I'm forced to anticipate and not be able to erase, anticipate this little highlight right there, and it's just more playful. Let me see what else is in here that's good. I mean, human figure, I'm a big person on human figure, even though I haven't done so much on the lives with audiences. But I do always like to practice, and look at, whether it's I'm watching a series and I'll pause it, and just do a quick sketch of, the turn of the neck, the angle of the nose, and that's it. I'm not going to go and do a full study, it's really 5 minutes, and then I keep watching the show. So, that type of thing can really happen. Again, then here I like to also incorporate other materials I don't, that I'm not usually working with. And that also, opens up kind of another door of, subject matter, composition, all kinds of fun things. This one I particularly really love, which came out of doing those previous ones. Again, human figure. This one was from coming in on an airplane. Let me see if I can get the full view there. And, I just love the clouds and the wing and the jet. And, so I took a photo of it with my iPhone and then, came back and worked on it. Again, human figure, it's my big. Here we have, this is, what I do work on. And the sketchbook, again, is still a vehicle to do smaller, completed pieces. And from here, I can take this one and then go bigger, same as this one. Here we have another one. This is like from memory, actually, of Caitlin and your daughter at church. Yeah, so it's just a good way to, kind of let loose, work on different things. These trees, again, are in that same kind of mood as these volumetric objects. I'll show you what I did last night. Again, just here are the ones that I was working on, the one class with, with the one live.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And just kind of working on mark making, leaves, just an imagined landscape. But and I'll continue working on this because it was just really pleasurable also to just kind of not focus on a complete and realistic or maybe limited scene, and it's more just an exploration of texture, an exploration of mark making, and that kind of pleasurable, again, aspect is very important to the sketchbook. It should be a space where you can also write down things. You can cut out magazines, write down quotes or your own stream of consciousness. But the idea is that you kind of have this creative vomit onto your sketchbook, and
that's a good way to put it.
Sketchbooks, I go through them and they're there, but you revisit them some months later, and then you're like, man, this is going to be a great painting. And that's where you get an idea for another painting or another drawing, So yeah, I'm a very big fan of the sketchbook.
Chad, I feel like you've got something to say, or maybe not.
No, I was just going to say, not only is it for working on things that are difficult or that you can't draw very well, it's just like Thomas said, part of what we're going to do in the class as well is use the sketchbook to develop ideas for future work or larger work beyond just the sketchbook. So yeah, I totally agree with everything Thomas said. It was awesome.
One of the things that I want to mention really quickly is, as you flip through your sketchbooks, for a lot of you viewers out there, vastly different things, right? I had struggled for many years feeling like, and Chad has talked about this at length on previous things, and Thomas has as well, where I always felt like my sketchbook had to be this pristine, perfect entity, right? Like every sketch in it had to be a final sketch or a final drawing or worthy of being ripped out and hung on a wall. And sometimes that happens, right? But one of the things I love seeing in your sketchbook there, Thomas, that you showed us is some of them were just rough ideas, just experiences, just this or that. Flip to another one. Then you have a beautiful finished artwork in there. And then it's nothing. And then it's this and it's that. And it was color and it was mark making. And it was just this, weird combination of things. I think you said it, sketchbook throw up. We're going to have to trademark that sucker.
Creative vomit.
Creative vomit. That's it. The creative vomit. And I think that's awesome because, to me, for somebody who struggles with looseness in a sketchbook, it's almost freeing to think that it doesn't have to be something like that. And Chad, I think I'm more excited for that. I wish if I could take one class, it would be that sketchbook class, because for me personally, it would free me up and allow me to loosen up in my sketchbooks and relax a little bit. And I think I desperately need that as an artist myself. And so I'm so glad that you're offering that class. Thomas, thank you for taking us through that journey. It's awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, now you can see the drawing, but this is because of the light that's hitting it. Now it looks nice and shiny. This is the effect we want to avoid, but this is being created because of the white light that's hitting and the angle of the camera. You know, if I were to hold this at a different angle, you wouldn't, you know, you'd see how it truly looks. But, you know, to those that watched from the beginning, you know, that's exactly the effect that happens when you work too dark, too fast with pencil.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah,
well, Chad, I think the inking looks amazing. Thomas, the values, the value control, the mark making, all of that is absolutely brilliant. 3-dimensional form and shape. And guys, I had a very successful evening of glazes.
Yeah,
and so,
beautiful. Looks great.
Thank you. I can't wait for you to see it in person, buddy. Everybody watching, we thank you guys so incredibly much. We are VAAS Live, the Visual Arts Academy and Studio. It has been another amazing Saturday evening creating with each and every single one of you. To everybody that commented, asked questions, shared, gave us love. It's amazing. We're so great that you're part of this community, and I'm so grateful for Thomas and Chad. Not only are they just incredibly talented, they're incredibly caring and wonderful instructors and friends and colleagues. It's just the most amazing experience. Gentlemen, anything you guys want to say before we wrap up for this evening?
No, I'm always, sorry, we said it at the same time.
Don't stop.
These guys are absolutely wonderful, gentlemen. It's always a privilege. We thank all of you. We will see you next week for a quick VAAS Live from our student exhibition. If you're local, come and visit us at 11700 Main Street in historic Middletown. We are the Visual Arts Academy and Studio, and we'll see you next week at our student exhibition and for a full session the following week in July. Everyone have a wonderful evening. We'll see you soon.